Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into. Energy could be fluctuating a bit throughout the course of the weekend this weekend, you guys. There could be some highs and lows going on. We've got an interesting combination of both some pretty heavy black moon energy that could be triggering some fears, worries, insecurities, doubts, shadow side issues, perhaps especially pertaining to loss or relationship dynamics. But we also have an exact Mercury-Jupiter conjunction that's happening at 29 degrees of the sign of Gemini, Mercury sign of rulership. This is like good news and positive opportunities and like finding things out and like a kind of a positive, upbeat, enthusiastic mindset and attitude. So it will be interesting to see how these two planetary forces sort of weave themselves together throughout the course of the weekend. But things could be going very deep on one hand and also be very enlightening on another hand. I actually think this combination of energy is really, really good for like getting to the root of some issues that may have been causing us some problems, but also being able to obtain the insight or the perspective to actually make some changes, make some corrections, and fix it. So a very corrective and reparative weekend I do think that we are about to move through. Now, aside from that, we also have some planetary shifts going on this weekend. We have two planets changing signs. Venus leaves Aries and enters her sign of rulership, Taurus, on Friday. On Sunday, after making the conjunction to Jupiter at 29 Gemini, Mercury then moves on and enters the sign of Cancer. Both of these things are gonna, I think, just kind of like change the vibe a bit out there now and moving forward, change the focus, what we're thinking about, and we have some things to talk about as we head into the weekend. So let's do that. Let's get into the report, put it all together, see if we can get an idea of how things are coming together for us throughout the course of the weekend and where we are going as we move into the energy of next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, June 6th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we are just gonna take a good look at our energetic rundown that we've got playing out there this weekend, and also talk a little bit about how things are setting themselves up as we prepare to enter the energy of next week. So that's what we're doing here today. We've got a few different things going on out there. As I mentioned in my intro, we do have a couple of different planets changing signs this weekend, vibe shifts going on throughout the course of the weekend. We also have this black moon energy that's coming in. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We also have this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, the highlight of the weekend, I would say, occurring on Sunday. And we also have this interesting Chiron dynamic that is ongoing really and building throughout the course of the weekend and into next week as well. It's interesting because Chiron was just in a conjunction with Venus as she traveled through the sign of Aries, and you know, I said Venus is about to enter the sign of Taurus, but Chiron right now is located at 26 degrees, I believe, or 25 degrees of the sign of Aries. So Venus just made a conjunction to Chiron not long ago, and now we have Mars coming into a trine with Chiron this weekend and building into next week when it will come exact as well. So both feminine and masculine dynamics having an interplay with this Chiron energy last week, over the course of this weekend, heading into next week as well. So that's another thing that we're going to be talking about in the report for the day. But like, considering that we do have this combination going on of black moon energy and black moon and Scorpio energy as well. Black moon energy is always a very triggering sort of force. It rules our shadow side issues, fears, worries, insecurities, doubts. When we have the black moon activated, which happens twice a month when the moon transits through the sign where the black moon is located, and also the sign opposing the black moon, that's when the black moon energy is activated and we have a tendency of feeling it the strongest. And that is what is happening this weekend as the moon transits through the sign of Scorpio, comes into a conjunction with the black moon, who is currently transiting through the sign of Scorpio as well. And in the sign of Scorpio, the black moon can often manifest as fears of loss, and it can make us, you know, very competitive and possessive and stuff like that. And people could just be acting out a bit. But another thing that I always say about the black moon energy And like, if we are looking at the grander scheme of things, which is what this Mercury Jupiter energy assists us to do this weekend, it is an opportunity to gain a greater sense of insight into exactly what it is that, is involved in our shadow side issues, so that we can begin a process of, gaining awareness and being able to heal, release, and integrate them, instead of being like subconsciously and unconsciously controlled by them because we're unaware of the fact that they are like existing back there in the first place. So I actually, like, on the higher octaves of things, this could be an extremely, extremely like healing and regenerative weekend, especially in terms of maybe breaking some negative thought patterns, or as I was talking about actually in my new moon in Gemini video that I put out a couple videos ago, this is a fantastic window period right here to like rewire or reprogram the subconscious mind based on our ability to like gain a greater sense, like I said, a greater sense of awareness of sort of the big picture of things, what the real core and root issues are, perhaps, that maybe have been, contributing to some of the shadow side issues that we've been dealing with. And therefore, as a result of having the opportunity to shed that light of awareness into those darker recesses and corners of our own mind, come to a point where we can learn how to heal them. And then it's also interesting because I'm talking about this Chiron influence that's underway. And Chiron is the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype. It has everything to do with, how we transcend essentially like initial states of wounding and victimhood into greater states of self-mastery and like conscious co-creation. And the mastery, the self-mastery, self-healing end of that Chiron energy could be, for some reason, very relevant in the context of maybe what this black moon, Scorpio moon energy, plus like added to Mercury and Jupiter at 29 degrees of the sign of Gemini could be bringing to us this weekend. So I really feel like there could be some major epiphanies that go on somehow throughout the course of the weekend about maybe some of our like deepest core root issues or wounds, and how to begin a process of healing those, or, gaining a greater sense of mastery over self somehow as a result of, that light of awareness into perhaps what had just been keeping us in like subconscious toxic loops or something like that, okay, in the past. This is also like kind of like in that same regard, tremendous like addiction breaking type of energy as well. It's like being able to, for some reason, having like a rare window into what has been holding power over us in ways that we weren't aware of. And as a result of that, maybe being able to release something, to let it go, or with the Chiron influence, really to be able, to heal it and overcome, master something again within ourselves. And I say within ourselves because Chiron right now is in the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars, who represents the self, and also in a trine to Mars, who represents the self. Mars in the sign of Leo, also the sun. This also has a lot to do with like our life force, our essence, our personal vitality. So, and of course, energy operates according to a spectrum. There's a multitude of octaves along which energy can manifest and express and represent itself. And we're going to be, and especially in Gemini season, which is so much about like the polarities of things, like attracting like, but also extreme polarity and opposition going on. Things are usually like one way or another, perhaps in extreme ways. Also, when we've got Mercury in Gemini with Jupiter also. So there could be, I'm seeing things kind of go one of two ways this weekend, and it could potentially be a bit of an extreme in either of those regards, or there could just be a level of significance to it. But it seems like, as I just mentioned, like an opportunity to gain some type of insight that helps us to heal, regenerate, release something that maybe has controlled us or had power over us in the past that was not, for necessarily our best interest. Or this could also, on the lower octave end of things, indicate some type of wound or painful trauma or something that is inflicted that has a damaging impact like on the self or to the self-perception, that then perhaps puts us in a position where we have to figure out how to heal that and go through a process of overcoming those issues and ultimately coming back to that place of self-mastery that is associated with the Chiron energy. But it has to do with both the wounding end of things and the healing end of things. So, and those are kind of contradictory, you know what I mean? Like when the wound is inflicted and also when the wound is healed. So we could see either side of that equation going on throughout the course of the weekend. And with the Jupiterian influence, it's like both sides could be kind of like larger than life in some way. Okay, so that is, I'm thinking kind of my summary of the energetic blueprint that's coming through this weekend, and perhaps maybe how these energies might be intermingling with one another. But it is very strange that we have like this deep, intense, penetrating shadow side issue, dark side oriented, lunar emotional energy. And then on the mental level, because Mercury, that's the mind, that's what we're thinking about. There's this focus, this expanded viewpoint, this broadened perspective. And also Mercury's the messenger planet. Jupiter is good luck and good fortune and blessings and stuff like that. There could be just some like good news or positive announcement. So we'll have to see how that goes. But relationship dynamics also, I do think that there could be relationship issues that are highlighted in the regard of that like wounding healing situation as well, because of the fact that, I mean, when we're talking about Gemini season, this can have to do with pairs, couples, counterparts, and it has to do with messaging and conversations. But the fact that Venus was just in the alignment with Chiron, and now just a couple of days later we've got Mars coming into the alignment with Chiron. Venus rules relationship dynamics, of course. Mars and Venus, the masculine and the feminine, also highlight relationship dynamics. So I don't know, I think on a collective level though, I think there could be a lot of things going on in relationships right now that are actually, in some way, I mean, they're pushing us to grow. They're pushing us to be better. They're pushing us to heal, and they are ultimately pushing us to gain this greater sense of self-mastery in some capacity, somehow, some way. But it could be coming through as a result of just some painful breakdowns or revelations in the context of relationship dynamics as well. There could be the deeper nature of things being revealed or exposed here, or just something maybe that's been hidden, like a lot of secrets coming to light in ways that could be causing some type of painful, like emotional response or reaction. But I do think that this is really all about putting us on a path to growth and like, honestly, like maturity somehow in some way. I've been saying, and I continue to feel this way, especially now as Uranus is like, we're really going to see it. I really, really think over this next couple of weeks and months as Uranus prepares to close out the transit of Taurus that has literally been ongoing since like 2018 or 2019. And I've been saying about this whole entire time that anything that is like any, especially relationship or partnership dynamics that are out of alignment with authenticity, or also anything that we are perceiving to have some type of value that is not authentic or that is not genuine, not real, it's not going to be able to maintain. Okay. I really think that as we near the end of this transit, we are probably going to see relationship breakdowns just raining down all around us if they are not. It's not going to, there are going to be things that happen that prohibit the continuation of like people being together if it is blocking or stifling the growth of either individual involved. If both parties in a relationship dynamic are not supported in terms of their like, I guess we could call it like the cosmic evolution required of the soul at this specific point in time, these relationships are not going to be allowed to maintain. And so with all of this like highly revealing like reprogramming the mind type of energy coming through this Gemini season. And again, I talked a lot about that in my new moon in Gemini video a couple videos back. So if you missed that one, that's where you'll find more information about that. And then this black moon energy that we have coming through right now as well, in combination, it does just feel like we got some x-ray vision into something that could break us out of some type of pattern that's been like stagnating our growth somehow. That's what I got. That's what I think. So let's talk about specifically Friday now to get the weekend started. Friday is, of all the days this weekend, more so emphasizing the Venus energy still. If you've been following along with my videos this week, I was talking about how we have had a pretty strong Venus energy going on this past couple days. The moon's been transiting through the sign of Libra as well, and the moon continues its transit through the sign of Libra as we move into the day on Friday. So that's throwing the ball to Venus because the moon, or Libra, is ruled by Venus, so Venus is ruling the moon's placement. Whenever a planet is transiting any sign, I always feel like it's important to know what's going on with the ruler of that sign, because it, you know, kind of gives us an idea how the energy of the planet in that sign is expressing. I hope that wasn't too many words to like describe what I was trying to say right there. But yeah, so we've got Venus entering Taurus, right? Venus rules the sign of Taurus. Venus is very characteristically Venus in the sign of Taurus. I'm going to talk about a little bit of that in a minute, but the moon in Libra is like emphasizing, referencing, and amplifying that Venus now in Taurus energy as we move through the day on Friday. And I do think this is going to be a positive shift. You know, I was just talking about the relationship, the like sketchy relationship energy that we've got going on out there right now, and you know, the potential for just finding things out that cause to changes in relationships and the impact that that has on us, and you know, all of that type of stuff. But you know, on the other hand, Venus entering the sign of Taurus now and leaving Aries that's definitely a more harmonious relationship energy than Venus transiting through Aries had been. Venus in Aries does a lot of great things for us, makes very assertive and spicy and confident, and like, you know, just about kind of like the desire to like seize the day and get ahead. But it also can be more conflict oriented in the context of relationship dynamics of all kinds. Venus in Taurus, not so much. This is, as I just mentioned, a much more harmonious, stronger expression of like the true Venus qualities. Less about going after what we want and more about creating and experiencing beauty and abundance. The desire to build, grow, possess, and indulge are features of the Venus Taurus energy. It's super receptive. It's like seeks sensory pleasure, beautiful aesthetics, material wealth, abundance, and growth. It is not so much about like capturing things and being first and being in charge and stuff like that, which, you know, great leadership qualities and characteristics when we've got Venus in the sign of Aries. But again, like, it can just be a bit of a more like testy, feisty, fiery expression and experience of energies, particularly in the context of relationship dynamics. So while now that we have Venus entering Taurus, this actually should on one hand maybe simmer things down a bit in that regard, but you know, with the black moon and the Chiron thing going on right there, and also the fact that, I mean, you guys, I just got done talking about Uranus transiting through Taurus, which is to me the primary energy that is causing these likely, in many cases, shocking, unexpected breakdowns in relationship dynamics that are coming through. Like, this is like suddenly like just becoming uncommitted to something we thought we'd always be committed to, or like divesting in things. It's like pulling out of things that had been stuck and fixed and stagnant because Uranus makes the changes for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves. This is energy that is going to unstick the things that are not growing properly, that are now like blocking or obstructing growth in some type of way, because Taurus, this is a sign of, it's a sign of building. It's a sign of growing. It's a sign of using what we have to create some type of physical 3D material abundance that we then get to feel, taste, see, and experience. And when things are not growing right, and we have Uranus come through there, that's just what's going to happen. So anything that is standing in the way is going to go. And Venus, Taurus is ruled by Venus. This is about, you know, relationships and partnerships. And also, as I said, like value and stuff. Like that's another thing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's like, currency type of changes that are going on coming up here over this next period of time that Uranus concludes the transit through the sign of Taurus, and things are maybe perhaps like revalued in alignment with a more authentic or true value or worth in some way. So now enter Venus, right, into the sign of Taurus, while as I was just saying, this is a more harmonious relationship oriented energy. The fact that Venus is now transiting her sign where Uranus is, and over this next few weeks we're going to have a building Venus-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus, that, you guys, like, it will be, if things have been on shaky ground, okay, for a while now, and it's just kind of been like a waiting game to find out like when whenever it's finally gonna give and like that tower is gonna come crumbling down, I would wager that this Venus-Uranus, I haven't looked at it yet, so I don't know what else is going on, but the Venus-Uranus conjunction that is going to be coming up here in Taurus over this next several weeks, I think that that is probably going to do some of that. I think that that is probably just because of the fact that Uranus is so especially close to the end of this transit now, and that's the ruler of the sign, right? And if we have the moon there as well, which there's a good likelihood, just because of the way things tend to go, that when that alignment does come into place, the moon will somehow be involved in it as well. I think that there's probably going to be a lot of things reaching a breaking point in that energy, or there could just be some very shocking and surprising changes that happen suddenly having to do with those relationships, those partnerships, or like that financial like value worth dimension and end of things. So it remains to be seen, you guys, how all of this is going to go, but that's just what I'm sensing as we move through the weekend. Venus enters Taurus on Friday and then prepares to begin her Taurus transit, which is going to bring her into a conjunction with Uranus over the course of the next like month or so. Which again, of course I will be doing a report on that. I just haven't gotten that far ahead of myself yet, and I'm not sure exactly what day that is, and I haven't looked at the chart yet, but we will do that as it comes. But backing up to where we're at right now, the moon, as I said, is still in Libra also as we move through the energy of Friday. Now, other than emphasizing the Venus energy, which I have already noted, do you guys know what else the moon is doing on Friday, transiting through the sign of Libra? It is forming an opposition to Chiron in the sign of Aries. So even as we move through the energy of Friday, there is this emphasis, this note, this arrow that is pointing to the Chiron energy as well. And again, moon in Libra, ruled by Venus. This is relationship dynamics, other people, partnership situations, legal situations, and stuff like that as well. Things having to do with fairness and balance and reciprocity. The moon, that's how we're feeling, our emotions, our internal environment. Opposite Chiron, wounding, healing, teaching, mastering, something along those lines. There could be some hurt feelings coming up for some reason, perhaps as a result of some type of relationship dynamic that is going on in the energy of Friday. We have it there again. And then after opposing Chiron, the moon moves through the last couple of degrees of Libra, enters Scorpio, and begins to activate this black moon energy. Now, interestingly, before the moon enters the sign of Scorpio, activates the black moon, and actually also will form an opposition to Venus, who just entered the sign of Taurus. Taurus and Scorpio are on a polarity. They're opposite to each other, and we'll get there in a minute. It will form a trine to Mercury and Jupiter in Gemini. We'll have an air sign trine that goes on in the very last the very last degree, basically, of Libra and Gemini. And that is going to activate this Mercury-Jupiter dynamic. So again, we're like up. It's kind of all over the place. Like, we've got this potential to have these hurt feelings or just this raw, vulnerable, like emotional situation type of thing going on. But then like a couple hours later, the moon is trining Mercury and Jupiter, and it's like, oh, like I'm uplifted, like I feel good, like I'm enthusiastic and I'm positive and it's gonna be okay, and like expansion and growth, and oh, that was good news, and that was a stroke of luck. Seeing the light somehow, maybe, or coming to understand something with the Chiron dynamic having just passed as well, that helps us to heal, to release, or to master something somehow. Maybe a sense of wisdom or truth or some revelation that is just of a greater significance on some level somehow. But with the moon there, it could really be quite emotional. So even just in sort of like this brief period of time on Friday, it's kind of like a microcosm for, I feel like, this energy that we have all weekend, where we are like coming to terms with something or coming into contact with or experiencing some uncomfortable or painful or triggering like emotion or feeling within us, but then we're also maybe gaining some opportunity or some insight or some advice or something, some wisdom or something that like helps us in that same regard. Now, aside from that, we do probably have a pretty busy social, maybe even like lighthearted day with the Jupiter Gemini situation going on Friday. This could bring lots of meetings and greetings and connections, very like interpersonal, dynamic, other people oriented, conversational, surface level, like mixing and mingling out and about type of energy. And also with Venus now in Taurus on Friday, this is simmering things down a bit for the time being. Probably pleasant, amicable for the most part. People are probably, again, like in a pretty good, positive, giving, like gregarious type of mood. I think people should have, for the most part, pretty positive attitudes about things on Friday. Although the topic of conversation may actually be very much centered around what we're finding out, maybe old wounds or old traumas that we're surfacing. One thing to be careful of, or you may notice, this does kind of feel like a bit of like a trauma dumping energy to me, because we've got this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, which is great, although it can sometimes like persuade us to maybe say a bit too much, like go a little bit overboard in terms of what we're saying and what we're revealing. But as I've been saying, you know, we're finding things out, secrets are being revealed. It could be as a result of people like over speaking or oversharing a bit. But the combination of Mercury and Jupiter at the very end of Gemini, which is all about, you know, the gab, the talking, the flow and spread of information, black moon energy that's being triggered, and also this Chiron influence, like that's very like trauma centered conversations and dialogues going on. So as a result of that, I do think that a lot of people could just be, you know, telling you their whole life story. The like concept of trauma dumping could be a thing that you feel or find you are encountering or dealing with throughout the course of the weekend. And just be aware that this energy is sort of like a prime time indicator for that type of thing. And if you are not wanting to let too much out, maybe being mindful of that tendency and how this energy can just kind of like promote and provoke that type of thing, it could just be beneficial to know. So be careful or be aware of, especially maybe Sunday, I would say, having a bit of a big mouth, a big head as well. This can be like know-it-all energy extremely at the 29th degree of Gemini with Mercury and Jupiter right there, thinking that we know everything, and in that process overlooking like important facts, details, and data that can then be something that we have to deal with and address later. So don't do that. Make sure that you're paying attention to like the fine print and everything along those lines, not being way overly inflated and stuff, because that's what Jupiter can also do. But very, very great superior energy for pattern recognition, problem solving, gaining perspective, broadening the mind and understanding. This can also, as I've stated, bring like good news, good advice, and just generally a positive attitude about stuff. So you are likely to learn something of significance this weekend that is ultimately beneficial to you somehow. And it could also represent kind of just like a noisy, busy, information-oriented, like information overload, and like distractions and random occurrences could be going off all over the place. And you could just like notice that things are like randomly just like super noisy. Lots of like hustle and bustle and commotion and stuff like that when we've got strong Gemini influence, which we have about the strongest Gemini influence that you can have right now, with the 29th last critical degree of the sign of Gemini being activated by the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, and Jupiter, that expands things. So it's probably a very communication, interaction, conversation, things going back and forth, things that are both the same and very different, argument, debate type of weekend. Probably got a lot of activity like that going on out there. Now, Saturday, this could be the sore spot of the weekend. Let's talk in some more depth about the energy we have present for Saturday. Saturday is the day where the black moon transiting through Scorpio comes into the exact alignment with the black moon. So I do think the black moon energy is probably going to be the most potent on Saturday. Fears, worries, insecurities, doubts, obsessions, compulsions, and this hyper competitive feel to things, perhaps triggering shadows, people projecting, kind of ugly expressions, perhaps, especially with the Jupiter Mercury situation, which is likely and generally positive, but could also be, again, like having people really digging down deep and kind of saying whatever it is that they pull out from down there. Okay. And also remember Mars and Chiron building into this trine together. Mars is the self, Mars is the ego, Mars is our energy and our vitality, especially in the sign of Leo and stuff like that. And in the trine to Chiron, who is in Aries ruled by Mars, this could be bringing, and then also in combination with the black moon energy, which already has us triggered, this could be bringing up or emphasizing, on another hand, feelings of weakness, vulnerability, wounds, inadequacies that are kind of a primary focus in terms of our actions and behaviors right now. People could definitely be acting out in this energy as well, and things or fears, especially to do with loss or failure, could be quite amplified. Again though, and this is my stance and I'm going to stick to it, Mercury and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini are giving us the aptitude and the ability and the opportunity to recognize the pattern or the core problem, the root of the problem that could be surfacing here, and find the solutions. Listen to some symbolism that we've got going on. Actually, this is symbolism for Sunday, when we have Mercury and Jupiter coming into the exact alignment, but I feel like it very much applies to the entire course of the weekend. The sun is at 19 degrees of Gemini. That Sabine symbol is a large archaic volume, reveals a traditional wisdom, and the black moon is at 9 degrees of Scorpio. That Sabine symbol is a dentist hard at work. So revelations, wisdom, repairing, again, like the root of the problem, the core issue, making important corrections that improve like the overall health and well-being of the entire system. That's what this combination of symbols is kind of resonating to me, as well as we have this same energy that is coming through. So if the shadows do surface this weekend, you guys, we should view it as an opportunity to gain crucial insight into our own thought patterns, our own subconscious mind, our own subconscious programming. One of the fundamental main themes of this entire Gemini lunar cycle right now is about, we have an ability to rewire and reprogram our subconscious mind through gaining conscious awareness and like actively choosing to do so, because this energy gives us both the like X-ray vision into like the inner workings of things, and also also the ability to recognize the pattern and fix the problem, like gain solutions, like think outside of the box, like have a broader perspective of the bigger picture so that we can narrow in on that and make that correction. So that is clearly what I think that we should be using this energy for. Use what you learn now to solve old problems that have been holding you back. And that is what universe is cosmically requiring of us right now. We're going through like a cosmic growth spurt, honestly, and that is why anything that, you know, even down to the microcosm, like individual person, like anything that is stifling our growth right now is not going to be allowed to persist and maintain, because everything in universe is being called to expand rapidly right now. I think just because of, you know, where we're at in like the grand cosmic unfolding story, the cosmic blueprint. Who knows why, but this seems to be quite a significant epicenter of drastic and dynamic change as we are transitioning now and moving forward into the age of Aquarius. So gotta get in alignment with the plan, you guys, and make these changes, not hold on to and try to force and control things into being that are falling apart, that seem to be leaving our lives. This is a time to let go, to surrender, to forgive, to release the past, and allow ourselves to be put in a position to grow, expand, and experience the truth of our actual potential. That's what it's all about, okay? Sunday, I would say, as I've said, is our highlight this weekend. It is the exact alignment, 29 degrees of Gemini, Mercury and Jupiter, extreme Gemini energy, news, information, tasks, lists, transactions, pairs, doubles, couples, counterparts, polarity, polarized forces, opposites, things to do with the head and the mind and also the hands. Gemini rules the hands, thoughts, ideas, reading, writing, the flow of information. Gemini is all about the flow of information. Big stories, headlines, announcements, and then this expansive Jupiter force bringing a lot of it, bringing the truth, bringing positivity, bringing wisdom, bringing good luck, good fortune, and bringing growth associated with whatever Mercury Gemini energy is expressing itself to us. This brings a more optimistic headspace, and Sunday, therefore, I think is going to feel less harsh perhaps than Saturday did, even though we still have the black moon energy going on. And then we've got another vibe shift that happens on Sunday, because right after Mercury makes that conjunction to Jupiter at the very last degree of the sign of Gemini, Mercury leaves Gemini, enters the sign of Cancer, shifting the focus. I do think that things, or the focus of things generally is going to turn inward a bit more now. Gemini energy, especially with Mercury there, the focus is very outward, it's very external. When we have Mercury in Cancer, that is a much more internalized mental energy over this next couple of weeks. I think attention is going to center more around home, family, safety, security, and thinking about how we feel about things. Mercury in Gemini is just this very mental, cognizant energy, thinking about maybe what we think about things and just the influx of ideas and opinions and viewpoints and thoughts about random different stuff generally. But Mercury in the sign of Cancer, this is more about thinking about how we feel and like what we're going to do as a result of that. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and it's a very emotional sign ruled by the moon, and of course Cancer rules the home and the family and like the local community and stuff like that. So that is the second shift that we've got going on over the course of the weekend. And actually on Monday, I think Jupiter enters the sign of Cancer as well, which is going to bring another vibe shift. We've got lots of them going on this month. We have 6 planets changing signs throughout the month of June. And as I said in the beginning, next week things are going to start to heat up again as we build towards this full moon in Sag, which is also a grand trine in fire with Mars and Chiron, which is going to be, I think, bringing up a lot of these same themes having to do with self-analysis and self-healing and self-growth and introspection, but also perhaps like some of these ego wounds and issues having to do with the self-concept that we're realizing perhaps are functioning maybe as blockages to growth that we need to let go of, heal, release, and overcome at this point in time. So, and it's going to be quite dynamic. Mars is also going to be coming into a square with not Neptune, with Uranus as we move through this next several days as well. And as I was just speaking about the Venus-Uranus connection that is pending right now and the impact that that could have on sudden shifts and changes taking place in the context of relationships, I should have mentioned then as well, but I guess I'm just mentioning now that this Mars-Uranus square, Uranus and Taurus, Mars and Leo that we've got coming up right now, that is going to be associated with the full moon energy as well. That is also going to be causing explosions and eruptions and like sudden, like very dynamic, point of no return, never going back changes to things that just, again, like these relationship situations that are not aligned anymore and cannot continue to persist. So we could have some big tower moments coming in the context of relationships, commitments, investments, and just things that have generally been stable and secure for a long period of time, but are not doing anything for anyone anymore. Okay. Coming up for some realignments as we move through the next week. So we've got some big energy that is pending and that we're moving towards right now. But as we move through this weekend, we need to figure out the root of the problem and solve it. The dentist hard at work, literally the degree of the black moon right now. Okay, in terms of some more symbolism that we've got playing out this weekend, the Earth on Sunday is at 19 Sag. That Sabian symbol is pelicans, menaced by the behavior and refuse of men, seek safer areas for bringing up their young. Again, like figure out what the root problem is and like do something to change it, to transform the situation, to like reorient the dynamic somehow. We also have Mars at 26 Leo. After a heavy storm, a rainbow appears. Chiron, that's interesting because Chiron, it gives like rainbow connotations as well because of the point in the sky where Chiron was discovered, which is known as the Chiron point. The Sabian symbol for that degree is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which is very relevant in the context of the Chiron dynamic because that is what Chiron brings at the end of the day and the life and the experience and the journey. True value, true wealth through what is gained in terms of wisdom and our ability to transmute and to alchemize the self to this greater state of self-mastery. Like that is the gold at the end of the rainbow. And whenever I see rainbow symbolism, it always brings in the Chiron element as well. Mars being in the trine to Chiron. And then Chiron right now is at 27 Aries, which is one of my personal favorite symbols in the whole zodiac. Through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. And Jupiter and Mercury together at that last degree, like that is all about some big opportunities that are coming. Don't forget, we also have Saturn and Neptune in a interesting conjunction together right now in the beginning of Aries, which on one hand is an energy that can give us a greater ability to translate dreams into reality through the power of our imagination, our mind's eye, our inner vision, and our ability to root that into the physical reality when we've got that specific dynamic of planets. So I do, and again, like this energy is removing blockages to growth. Chiron at 27 Aries, through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. There is something to be gained through whatever Chiron situations we might be dealing with right now. So the pain, you guys, if there's pain involved, it is very purposeful and it is going to translate into some type of power that is actually going to put you on a path to experience a greater level of personal purpose and personal fulfillment and self-mastery. And the more that we can orient our mind in that direction and not cling to the past ways and means and things and how things have been, and not be afraid to change as well, kind of like anticipating change right now as we move, especially into this Mars-Uranus square, it's probably just gonna Mercury and Jupiter together set us up for a greater like ability to perceive success and positivity in the things that are going on and playing out right now. So that's what I'm going to say. That's what I have to say. That's what I think. That's how I feel about all the energy that we've got coming together for us this weekend, you guys. I'm going to get us one final piece of guidance now. I'm going to get a synchronicity card. I'm going to ask for some guidance or advice. What should we keep in mind? What do we need to remember? What do we need to know? Interestingly enough, our card itself says guidance. But my God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory, Philippians 4:19. When you have learned to reach that part of your higher mind where you find God, you will magnify and multiply your good exceedingly. You are guided by God and his angels in all ways. You will automatically attract all the right people who will cooperate, assist, and aid you. Many blessings are yours now. So there it is, you guys. I mean, we may, as I've said, there's this strange duality. But we're in Gemini season, so I guess it's appropriate. But, you know, there's like the darkness and the shadow and the inner workings of things, but also like the mountaintop view and the broader perspective and the faith and the trust and the belief that like everything's gonna be all right. And this card is literally saying, you know, many blessings are yours right now. That is what Jupiter brings. That is what Jupiter indicates. So as I said, we also are moving into some strong Uranus energy. That is blessings in disguise. So, you know, don't be quick to judge things in this energy. Our guidance is that, you know, we are being guided, and the more that we can do to frame our mind in that regard, when you have learned to reach that part of your higher mind where you find God, you will magnify and multiply your good exceedingly. I think it's important to keep a positive mental frame and perspective this weekend despite what's going on, because for whatever reason, in whatever way, things are moving in the right direction, you guys. Many blessings are yours. So that's what I have to say today. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. So grateful for your presence on my channel. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I truly value and appreciate when you let me know what's going on with you out there. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, drop me a comment. Let me know in my comment section below. Again, I really appreciate that. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I take pictures of those boards and put them in a Facebook group that is linked in my description box below. That's where you will find those. And come back with me, you guys, on Monday. We have, again, this next upcoming week, things are heating up. Emotional tension is definitely building. We've got a very fiery full moon that is coming up next week, and we've got more planets changing signs, and I will be back to talk all about it, you guys. So you should come too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you next time. Have a beautiful weekend, and until then, bye guys.